Good afternoon, sir. Your appointment is scheduled for 4 p.m. As the wedding planner begins, James's assistant buzzed in through the intercom. James Mitchell looked at his Rolex, then at the Forbes magazine on his desk showcasing him on the cover. Inform her that I will arrive in 5 minutes. He relaxed his tie, sensing the heaviness of the impending ceremony bearing down on him. The door to his office swung wide open. Victoria Chase, his fiancée, entered with an air of confidence, adorned in a designer dress that likely surpassed the monthly earnings of many. Jamie, my dear, we must discuss the guest list. I believed we reached a conclusion on that yesterday. James brushed his fingers through his thinning, silver-streaked blonde hair. We did, but... Victoria settled herself on his desk, her impeccably manicured nails drumming on the glass surface. What is the reason for your ex-wife's name being on it? James's lips formed a smile, yet his eyes remained devoid of warmth. Because, my dear, I wish for her to realize what she has overlooked. That's trivial. Victoria's eyebrows arched in surprise. I'm absolutely enamored with it. 6 years prior, Sarah Thompson had exited his life, asserting that his dedication to his startup prevented him from cultivating a genuine relationship. With a tech vision valued in the billions and an impending marriage to a woman a decade his junior, James felt compelled to demonstrate to Sarah the true cost of her worried exit. The wedding plan is on hold, his assistant noted via the intercom. Arriving shortly, James stood tall, adjusting his tailored suit with precision. Victoria, you have to believe me on this. Sarah must realize that her departure was the gravest error she could have made. Victoria pondered. You never mention her. Was it truly that terrible? James clenched his jaw. She departed just as the tech vision was gaining momentum, claiming I was emotionally distant, that my focus was more on my computers than on creating a family. He let out a derisive laugh. See where that commitment has led me. Victoria purred softly, planting a kiss on his cheek, as we anticipated our perfect wedding in just 3 weeks. The wedding planner meticulously arranged sample centerpieces as they stepped into the conference room. Yet James's gaze drifted past the crystal vases and exotic flowers, lost in thought. He recalled Sarah's expression on the day of her departure, the way she lingered at the threshold as if words of significance were on the tip of her tongue. Mr. Mitchell, the wedding planner's voice jolted him back to reality regarding the seating arrangement. Put Sarah Thompson at table 8. He instructed decisively, where she'll have a perfect view of everything she relinquished. Victoria tightened her grip on his arm. Are you certain about this? Certainly. James retrieved his phone, his thumb poised above Sarah's long unchanged number that he had never brought himself to erase. Actually, I believe I will present this invitation myself. That's definitely something I'd love to witness. Victoria's laughter resonated throughout the space. James gazed at his phone screen, reflecting on Sarah's final words. One day you'll come to understand what truly holds significance in life, James. I sincerely hope it's not too late. He would reveal to her precisely what was truly important. His realm, his enchanting betrothed, his idyllic existence. Little did he realize just how dramatically that scheme was destined to unravel. The suburban neighborhood appeared just as James recalled it. Sarah's unassuming 2-story house was distinguished by its vibrant blue door and abundant flower boxes, a true reflection of her character. He silenced the engine of his Tesla and lingered there, the wedding invitation searing a hole in his pocket. A child's bicycle rested on its side in the front yard. Odd, he mused. Sarah never expressed a desire for children. The sound of the doorbell remained the same. James adjusted his tie, rehearsed his smirk, and bided his time. I'm coming. Sarah's voice echoed from within. Then the door swung open, and there she stood, exuding an infuriatingly perfect presence. Her hair had been trimmed, yet the warmth in her eyes remained, a quality he had once found utterly captivating. Is that you, James? Her eyes widened in astonishment. What are you doing? Hello, Sarah. He retrieved the cream-hued envelope. Exclusive dispatch. She accepted it, her expression revealing her bewilderment. You traveled all this way to present me with a Her voice faded as she glanced at the invitation. So you're tying the knot? In just 3 weeks? He found himself compelled to contribute. To Victoria Chase. She may be familiar to you from various social media platforms. 3 million admirers. Sarah's expression fell short of the gratification he had anticipated. Instead, she appeared troubled. Well done, she remarked thoughtfully. What's the reason for my invitation? Isn't it possible for an old friend? It's been 6 years since we last spoke, James. A sudden crash echoed from within the house, quickly accompanied by the sound of children's laughter. Sarah's head snapped to the side. Young men? What did I mention regarding playing ball indoors? Young men? Multiple. I apologize, Mum. A symphony of voices responded in unison. James attempted to gaze beyond her into the house, yet Sarah moved, obstructing his sight. Thank you for the invitation, she stated with conviction. I will consider it. Who might that be? He motioned toward the commotion. My boys. Her response was terse. Children, are you referring to multiple instances? Sarah's grip on the door intensified. It was a pleasure to see you, James. Once more, heartfelt congratulations on your engagement. Mother, Tommy has taken my controller. A faint voice emerged from within. Daniels did not lie. Both of you, take a break. A new voice entered the conversation. James felt a whirlwind of thoughts swirling in his mind. 3 distinct voices. 3 unique voices of boys. I need to leave, Sarah said hurriedly. Wishing you all the best for the wedding. The door slammed shut before he could fully grasp the weight of what had just been said. 3 young lads. And there's a certain quality to their voices. The names they bear. Once inside his car, James retrieved his phone and calculated the figures. It has been 6 years since they parted ways. If Sarah had been expecting when she departed. No, he murmured. She would have shared it with me. Yet, as he drove off, an unsettling uncertainty trailed behind him. It was clear that Sarah's reaction to his invitation went beyond mere concern. She appeared to be filled with fear. James Mitchell had not constructed a tech empire by disregarding his instincts. Mom, has he left? Michael glanced around the corner while Sarah rested against the shut door. She nodded, gripping the invitation with such intensity that it wrinkled in her hand. Return to your studies, darling. Yet, all 3 boys had already gathered in the hallway. Their strikingly similar blue eyes, those eyes of his, brimming with inquiries. Who was that individual? Thomas inquired. Just a figure from my past, Sarah navigated her way through. Daniel, weren't you supposed to be preparing for that math test? Could that have been our father? Daniel, ever the astute observer, truly captured the essence of the matter. Sarah settled onto the stairs, her sons quickly gathering around her like vigilant guardians. 6 years of meticulous preparation, of crafting their own small universe, endangered by a single reckless encounter. Indeed, she ultimately confessed. That was your dad. Is he aware of our existence? Michael's voice was barely a whisper. Not at this moment. Sarah drew them in tightly. However, he may come to understand it shortly. Her phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. A message from her sister Claire. Urgent situation. Reach out to me. Sarah was already aware of the matter without needing to make a call. Claire was employed in the PR department at TechVision. Word spread quickly. Gentlemen, it's time to begin your homework. I have to place a call. In her cozy home office, filled with student papers from her 4th grade class, Sarah picked up the phone to call Claire. Before Claire could utter a word, Sarah interjected. He came to my house. Regarding the wedding invitation, I understand. He's been sharing his intentions to embarrass you throughout the office. Claire hesitated. Sarah, you must share this with him. I understand. Sarah observed from the window as her sons played with a soccer ball in the backyard. They are filled with joy, Claire. We are filled with joy. James is tying the knot. Why make things more complex at this moment? Since he extended an invitation to his wedding. To outshine you. And when you arrive with 3 little versions of yourself, who claims I'm leaving? Sarah Thompson, you have been nurturing those boys by yourself for 6 years, justifying their father's actions, juggling 2 jobs to provide them with all they need. Now he seeks to demonstrate just how much he thrives in your absence. Sarah observed as Thomas assisted Daniel in getting back on his feet after a tumble. Michael hurriedly approached, a band-aid in hand, ready to assist. Ever ready, just as she had instructed them. Indeed, she acknowledged at last. However, I refuse to allow him to cause them any harm. Absolutely not. However, perhaps, Claire paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. Perhaps they have a right to understand their father. Perhaps he is entitled to understand them. Once she ended the call, Sarah noticed the boys had left their soccer game behind and were gathered around her laptop. Mother, Michael shouted. Could this be him? Is James Mitchell the CEO of TechVision? Displayed on the screen was a Forbes article detailing the impending marriage of Silicon Valley's most sought-after bachelor. Sarah gazed at her sons, noting their father's hair, his eyes, his resolute chin, and came to a conclusion. Prepare your finest attire. Gentlemen, we have a wedding to attend. The invitation rested invitingly on her desk. James Mitchell and Victoria Chase cordially invite you to join them. Sarah permitted a subtle smile to grace her lips. Unbeknownst to them, the nature of the company arriving was a complete mystery. Mom, Michael is monopolizing the mirror once more. Thomas called out from the corridor. I am not. It was Daniel who dedicated 20 minutes to perfecting his hair. Amidst the morning chaos, Sarah expertly balanced 3 identical lunchboxes, showcasing her remarkable multitasking skills. Gentlemen, the bus will arrive in 10 minutes. The triplets raced down the stairs in their crisp school uniforms, their backpacks jostling with every hurried step. By the age of 10, they were already revealing unique personalities, even with their matching looks. Michael, the older by a mere 4 minutes, adjusted his brother's ties with a careful eye. Tommy, yours is askew. Enough with the overbearing attitude, Thomas muttered, yet he allowed Michael to handle it regardless. Daniel, the youngest, was immersed in a book. Did you realize that Dad's company had no value when he first launched it? Sarah almost let the lunches slip from her grasp. Where did you come across that information? The web. Daniel raised his tablet high. He created it entirely on his own, just as you consistently encourage us to approach our projects. Ever since James's visit 3 days ago, the boys had developed an intense fascination with their father. Sarah noticed them frequently searching for him online, engrossed in his TED Talks, and diving into articles about TechVision. Mother, Michael inquired with caution. Why didn't you share our story with him? Sarah placed the lunches on the table. It's quite intricate, darling. We're not children anymore, Thomas insisted. We can manage complexity with ease. She gazed at their sincere expressions, reminiscent of their father's when he tackled a particularly challenging coding conundrum. Your father dedicated a lot of his attention to his business during our time together. He toiled through 18-hour days, sacrificing holidays and birthdays. However, Daniel noted that he has achieved success now. Success holds various meanings for each individual. As Sarah examined their backpacks, I longed for a family. He aspired to build a vast dominion. And now he's tying the knot, Michael remarked softly. Thomas added a note for someone named Victoria Chase. She has a significant online presence. With exceptionally bright teeth, Daniel made his contribution. Sarah found herself unable to contain her laughter. Have you guys been keeping an eye on your dad's fiancée? They possessed the elegance of remorse. We were simply curious, Michael asserted, regarding our other family. The sound of the school bus honked outside. This evening, Sarah made a promise. We'll discuss it further this evening, along with the wedding details. Their expressions brightened. Are we heading out? Time will tell. She embraced them one by one. I hope you have a wonderful day at school. Stop searching online while in class. As she observed them boarding the bus, Sarah retrieved her phone along with the wrinkled invitation. The moment had arrived to respond to the invitation. Claire, it's me. Share all the details you have about this wedding. As she gazed through the bus window, her eyes fell upon her sons, nestled closely together, likely immersed in thoughts about their attire, their words, and the moment they would finally encounter the father they had long pondered. Sarah crafted her response with care. Sarah Thompson, along with 3 guests, will be in attendance. The countdown is officially underway. The ballroom of the St. Regis Hotel thrummed with the energy of Silicon Valley's finest. James stood at the center, graciously accepting accolades, while Victoria captivated investors with her polished charm. The arrangements at the bride's table are absolutely stunning, the wedding planner exclaimed, and the guest list. James seemed completely disengaged. He kept stealing glances at the entrance. Though Sarah had yet to reply to his RSVP, an instinct within him suggested she would show up. Jamie, Victoria beckoned him closer. The Rothschilds wished to engage in a conversation regarding their investment. He donned his polished executive grin and faced the investors. That's when the whispers began. Initially, there were mere murmurs, followed by a wave of astonished breaths, and ultimately, an enveloping stillness. James pivoted on his heel. Sarah stood in the doorway, graceful in a modest blue dress, yet it was not her presence that brought about the hush. There were 3 boys accompanying her, all clad in matching suits, their blonde hair meticulously styled to the side. His hair, his eyes, his face, replicated in triplicate. "Oh my goodness," Victoria murmured next to him. The boys advanced in flawless harmony, surrounding their mother like miniature sentinels. The smallest among them, or so it seemed, held a book tightly against his chest. The one in the center held his chin up, resolute. The tallest surveyed the room with a keen gaze that reflected James's own. "Sarah," James succeeded, his voice almost a murmur. "Greetings, James." She advanced, the boys following her lead. "Wishing you heartfelt congratulations on your engagement." Victoria's champagne glass slipped from her grasp, shattering against the marble floor. No one took the initiative to tidy it up. "These are my sons," Sarah said with a steady voice. "Michael, Thomas, and Daniel." She hesitated. "Are those your sons?" The room whirled around. James clutched a nearby chair, seeking stability. "That's out of the question," Victoria retorted. "James, let her know that this cannot be done." Yet James was counting downwards. 6 years have passed. Sarah paused at the door as she stepped outside, attributing her morning sickness to stress. "In what way?" he began. Sarah spoke softly, revealing that she discovered it the day after I departed. "You found yourself navigating the complexities of your series of funding round. You had expressed that distractions were not something you could manage." "Interruptions?" His voice trembled. "They are my kids. We're 10, the tallest boy declared, "Michael. We enjoy programming and playing soccer. And books," the one with the story added. "We have thoroughly explored all there is to know about you and have finished the 3rd. James reeled back, unsteady on his feet. 3 pairs of eyes, his gaze scrutinized him closely. "This is absurd," Victoria proclaimed. "DNA tests and legal representation will be necessary." "Already completed," Sarah interjected, retrieving a folder. "Their birth certificates, medical records, and DNA results are all essential documents. I maintained duplicates of all documents." The wedding planner collapsed. James hardly paid attention. He found himself captivated by the boys, his sons, who were scrutinizing him with the same fervor. "We need to have a conversation," Sarah murmured gently. "Every one of us." The final image etched in James's mind before everything faded to black was Victoria, her anger palpable as she stormed out. His 3 sons surged ahead, a cohesive force, eager to reach him as he tumbled down, just as he had instructed his coding teams to perform. "Drink this," Sarah said, offering James a glass of water. They found refuge in a secluded room adjacent to the main ballroom, shielded from the astonished murmurs and the incessant click of camera phones. The boys sat on a leather couch across from him, maintaining their perfect alignment. It felt as though he was gazing at a collection of his own childhood memories, each one echoing the last. "For how long did you intend to hide this from me?" His voice carried a rough edge. "Initially, eternally." Sarah took a seat next to her sons. "Then you arrived with that invitation in hand." To cause you pain, James confessed. I felt a desire to cause you pain. We understand, Michael interjected. Your company's success has caught our attention. Mum believes you prioritized that instead of family. James flinched. Is that what you conveyed to them? Just the truth, Sarah responded. I recognized that you were creating something significant, and I decided not to add any complications to that process. The door flew open with a sudden force. Victoria lingered, her makeup a touch askew. The visitors are departing. This is a catastrophe. Vic, I beg you, James began. Don't pull a Vic on me. It seems there are 3 children you haven't mentioned to me before. I had no idea, James murmured. Is she perpetually this theatrical? Thomas called out to his brothers, ensuring his voice carried for all to hear. Daniel chuckled softly, hidden behind the pages of his book. Even Sarah couldn't help but stifle a grin. Victoria's cheeks flushed with a deep crimson hue. I am unable to do that. I'm seeking some time for reflection. With a swift turn on her heel, she departed. Once more, silence enveloped the space. James observed his sons with a newfound clarity. Michael, the guardian figure. Thomas, the daring soul. Daniel, the silent watcher. 6 years of memories that would forever remain out of reach. He finally said the wedding's in 2 weeks. The boys responded in unison, acknowledging the statement. This requires my attention. Sarah rose to her feet. Absolutely. Gentlemen, bid farewell to your father. Dad. The word struck him with the force of a tangible impact. Michael took the initiative, reaching out his hand with a sense of formality. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Thomas offered a relaxed wave. The coding architecture for TechVision's main platform is exceptional. Daniel gave a slight nod, gripping his book with increased intensity. As they exited, James shouted after them. Hold on, what do you like the most? All of it? I desire to uncover all there is to know. Sarah hesitated at the threshold. How about stopping by tomorrow? We can engage in meaningful conversation, all together. James nodded, his voice caught in his throat. Once they departed, he remained solitary in the room, gazing at his reflection in the window. 3 young lads. 3 exceptional, radiant boys who had matured in his absence, as he had been too consumed by his empire to recognize what he was sacrificing. The phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. A message from Victoria. Weddings delayed. Require some distance. For the first time in his life, James Mitchell found himself adrift, lacking a plan, a strategy, or a clear path ahead. And somehow, that filled him with less dread than the idea of losing his sons once more. They're asleep, Sarah remarked, stepping onto the back porch to join James. It had been a week since the rehearsal dinner. They're incredible, James murmured, still reflecting on the evening he had enjoyed playing board games with his sons. Michael triumphed over me in chess. He triumphs over all in chess. Thomas gained unauthorized access to my phone. He certainly does that. What about Daniel? He hasn't stopped reading that quantum physics book you gave him? With a gentle curve of her lips, Sarah beamed. Without a doubt, those are your sons. James glanced in her direction. Why didn't you share that with me? The genuine motive. Sarah lingered in silence, her gaze fixed on the flickering fireflies dancing in her quaint garden. Do you recall the week prior to my departure? I was finalizing the series of funding. I attempted to convey that I wasn't feeling my best. Thrice, you participated in conference calls every time. James recalled now. Her ghostly visage lingered in the threshold of his office. He gestured for her to leave as he engaged with the investors. On the morning I discovered I was expecting, you were preparing for that important presentation. Sarah's voice held a calm assurance. You stated, and I quote, nothing can distract me today. The destiny of TechVision hinges on this. Sarah, I observed you that morning as you honed your pitch. TechVision is my pride and joy, you kept saying. The mark I leave behind. She pivoted to confront him. I have come to a decision. Is it your little one or ours? That seems unjust. Absolutely not. Neither to you nor to them. Yet I found myself unwell, filled with fear, and observing my husband prioritize his work above me day after day. James sank into his chair, a heavy weariness settling over him. I would have transformed. Could you? Sarah faced a challenge. Speak truthfully, James. If I had shared that with you back then, how would you have reacted? He pondered over it, reflecting on his earlier years, driven by an unwavering passion for achievement, resolute in the pursuit of validation. I'm uncertain. I certainly do. You would have just thrown cash at the issue, established trust funds, employed caregivers, planned infrequent gatherings between board meetings. Sarah's voice wavered just a bit. Yet they required a guardian, not a portfolio manager. What comes next? What is their current requirement? Why not pose the question to them? Sarah rose to her feet. Just so you know, they're awake. They might be eavesdropping just outside the door at this very moment. 3 unmistakable thuds followed by a flurry of movement validated her intuition. James found himself unable to contain his laughter. Without a doubt, they are my sons. Indeed, Sarah responded gently. Indeed, they are. The question is, are you prepared to take on the role of their father? Just as James was about to respond, his phone vibrated. Victoria's name illuminated the display. Sarah observed. It would be wise to consider that option. It seems you have some choices ahead of you. He remained on the porch, fixated on his phone, contemplating the legacy he had created and the one that had almost slipped away from him. Sir, the board meeting is set to commence in 10 minutes. James's assistant conveyed over the phone. Withdraw it. However, sir, the quarterly projections. Tom is more than capable of managing it. James shifted his rearview mirror, observing the entrance of the elementary school. I'm treating my sons to lunch. He concluded the conversation just as 3 indistinguishable figures leaped down the steps. Their expressions brightened as they caught sight of his Tesla. Shotgun! Thomas yelled. Absolutely not, Michael exclaimed. I am the eldest. Just 4 minutes later, Daniel quietly settled into the back seat, already engrossed in a book. Everyone gets a turn, James declared, still in awe of how effortless this seemed after only 2 weeks. Michael today, then Thomas, followed by Daniel. Indeed, they echoed in unison. At the burger joint they had selected, James observed as they devoured their meals, bombarding him with questions. Did you actually write your first program at the age of 8? Thomas inquired, his mouth full of fries. In fact, it's 7. An uncomplicated game. Michael mentioned that Mom said you met at a tech conference. She was showcasing an innovative educational software project. James felt a warm glow at the recollection. Completely ruined my presentation. Daniel lifted his gaze from the pages of his book. Are you still planning to tie the knot? The inquiry lingered, suspended in the atmosphere. James placed his burger on the table. Victoria and I are spending some time apart. Is it due to our actions? Michael's voice was barely a whisper. Absolutely not, James replied with conviction. I must determine what truly matters to me. Thomas noted that his mother said that was the reason for their previous separation. Poorly placed priorities. James examined their expressions. So youthful yet so insightful. Your mother had a point about many matters. She typically is, Daniel murmured. James' phone vibrated once more. Yet another challenge has arisen at the workplace. Yet another board member seeking the spotlight. He powered down the phone. Who is in the mood for some ice cream? 3 hands shot up without hesitation. As he returned them to school, James sensed a feeling that had eluded him for years. Tranquility. No stock prices shouting in his mind. No acquisition deals warranting focus. 3 boys bid farewell, their uniform shirts adorned with ice cream stains. His assistant was likely experiencing a complete breakdown. It seemed the board was engulfed in turmoil. Victoria had recorded 3 voicemails. For the first time in his life, James Mitchell had clarity about what truly mattered. As they strolled back to school, a lively debate ensued over who would claim the coveted shotgun seat for tomorrow's ride. Victoria discovered James in his home office, encircled by 3 laptops showcasing the schedules for the Children's Soccer League. This is what you've been up to, she said as she picked up a youth baseball catalog. As our wedding plans unravel, James reduced the screens. It's time for a conversation. What can you tell me about your hidden family? Or perhaps how you've overlooked each rescheduling meeting with the wedding planner? He gestured toward a chair, inviting both to take a seat. Please take a seat. Victoria stood tall, arms crossed defiantly. I have exercised a great deal of patience, James, allowing you the time to reflect on this circumstance. However, 3 weeks have passed. They aren't just a circumstance, Victoria. Those are my sons. The person you recently encountered, who were concealed from you. Doesn't that frustrate you? James reclined, deep in thought. Initially, indeed. Yet, Sarah accurately captured the essence of my past self. What comes next? Who do you consider yourself to be at this moment? Victoria's voice took on a gentle quality. Because the James I agreed to marry was constructing a technological empire. Not in the market for little league gear. I'm striving to embody both roles. Either option. She let out a harsh laugh. This week you've called off 3 board meetings. The acquisition agreement with Microtech is encountering delays. The media is reveling in the swirling rumors. The organization will endure. What will become of our relationship? James locked his gaze with hers. It varies. Are you able to understand that my priorities have shifted? Altered? They've entirely turned around. Victoria moved restlessly around the room. You once claimed that nothing held greater significance than the future of Tech Vision. I acknowledge my mistake. Were you? Behold the creation born from that determination. She waved her hand to encompass the grandeur of the mansion. This existence we were meant to experience together. A life constructed from relentless toil and unseized chances. James rose to his feet. I will no longer overlook any part of their lives. Victoria ceased her pacing. You are making the selection. I have decided to embrace the role of their father. Done with being my husband? Are you tired of the person you once adored? James offered a gentle correction. Why that man? He would not have made a suitable father. Or perhaps a devoted partner. Victoria's shoulders drooped in defeat. She removed her engagement ring and set it down on his desk. Farewell, James. She lingered at the threshold. Those boys are fortunate, without a doubt. This iteration of yourself? He could truly be valuable as a father figure. Once she departed, James revisited the soccer schedules. There were opportunities available across 3 distinct teams. His sons would require uniforms, cleats, and shin guards. The device vibrated in his pocket. A message from Sarah. The boys are eager to find out if you'll be attending their science fair tomorrow. James beamed, promptly organizing his schedule. Certain decisions were inevitable. The figures speak for themselves. James. Tom, accompanied by his CFO, pushed the quarterly report across the conference table. Our market value has declined by 15% following the revelation of your personal circumstances. James carefully examined the document, intensely conscious of the strain in the boardroom. 8 executives stood by, anticipating his reply. Their expressions varied from worry to aggression. James reiterated his personal situation. Are you referring to my kids? Patricia from legal interjected, noting that the timing is quite unfortunate. The acquisition of Microtech has brought my sons a stroke of luck in timing. James' voice was unyielding. Moving on to the next point. Tom maintained that there was no further point to discuss. This is the crux of the matter. In the past 2 months, there have been 6 important meetings that you did not attend. The media is weaving narratives about uncertainty and governance. Investors are feeling uneasy. Let them feel the tension. James rose to his feet. The meeting has concluded. We haven't completed this yet, Patricia insisted. Indeed, we are. A parent-teacher conference is scheduled for 3 o'clock. The atmosphere in the boardroom buzzed with whispers. James had just reached the midpoint to the door when Tom's voice rang out, halting him in his tracks. The board is contemplating a vote of no confidence. James stood still, rotated gradually. You created this company, Tom continued. However, it appears that your focus has shifted towards creating something entirely different. Is it a family? Is it a diversion? James returned to the table, resting both hands on its gleaming surface. Allow me to clarify. The importance of a clear tech vision resonates deeply with me. However, if you compel me to decide between my role here and my children, the result will not be to your liking. Are you implying something menacing? It's a commitment. James adjusted his posture. I hold the majority of shares. With a single phone call, I can disband the board. Patricia fidgeted with her papers, a hint of anxiety in her demeanor. That would utterly collapse the stock. Then please spare me the dilemma. James glanced at his watch. Now, if you'll pardon me, my son's math instructor is awaiting my arrival. Inside his vehicle, James relaxed his tie and let out a deep breath. His phone displayed 3 missed calls from investors, 2 from the PR team, and 1 from Sarah. He returned Sarah's call. How did the meeting turn out? She inquired. As anticipated. How are the lads? Eager to reveal their grades. Even Daniel managed to score an A in PE. James smiled, sensing the tension in the boardroom begin to dissipate. Inform them that I'm en route. He concluded the conversation and ignited the engine, glimpsing his reflection in the rearview mirror. The man looking back was no longer the same person who had welcomed his ex-wife to his wedding just 2 months prior. That individual would have preferred the companionship. This one was a no-brainer. Father, take a look at this. Thomas teetered on his skateboard. A delicate dance of balance and gravity. Proceed with caution. James surged ahead as Thomas teetered, yet Michael was already present, anchoring his brother with unwavering support. He always ignores what I say. Michael let out a sigh, mirroring Sarah perfectly. In James's backyard, a vibrant scene unfolded, complete with fresh sports gear, a treehouse taking shape, and 3 matching bikes waiting to be ridden. Daniel perched on the grass, legs crossed, shifting his gaze from the pages of his book to his brothers playing nearby. Father, Daniel made a call. Could you provide an explanation of quantum entanglement? After clarifying the issues with my code, Thomas paused, leaving his skateboard behind. Once he assists me with my science project. Michael responded. James experienced a sense of being inundated, yet it was in the most delightful manner. Thomas, please show me the code 1 step at a time. They gathered closely around Thomas's laptop, their foreheads leaning in unison. James highlighted the absent semicolon, clarified the logic error, and observed the spark of realization on Thomas's face as the program executed successfully. What about quantum entanglement? Daniel inquired with a sense of optimism. Michael was adamant that the science project should come first. The deadline is tomorrow. Is it happening tomorrow? James scowled. Why was it not brought up sooner? Michael cast his gaze downward. How did that major investor meeting go? James lowered himself to connect with his son's gaze. There is nothing of greater significance than assisting you. Got it? All 3 boys nodded, yet James noticed the doubtful looks they shared. He had to skip 2 weekend visits because of work emergencies. They were tallying up the moments, reminiscent of how he once did with his father's frequent disappearances. James declared a new rule. It's time to stop dancing around my schedule. If you require my assistance, just let me know. Agreed. Agreed. Thomas gave him a high five. Is it really 3 a.m.? Daniel inquired with a grave expression. Is it really happening at 3 a.m.? Michael noted. Mum mentioned you used to work until 3 a.m. Mother's intuition proves correct once more. James beamed with delight. However, circumstances evolve. Individuals evolve. The device vibrated with a sudden alert. Yet another board member seeking the spotlight. James muted it without a glance. What about quantum entanglement? He glanced over at Daniel. Imagine it as 3 siblings. The afternoon was filled with a seamless flow between physics, coding, and Michael's volcano project. James found himself with glue stuck in his hair, grass stains marring his dress shirt, and a fresh sense of gratitude for Sarah's unwavering patience. When Sarah arrived to collect them, she discovered all 4 of them coated in baking soda and vinegar. The volcano functioned as intended, Michael declared with pride. Ultimately, Thomas contributed. Following the third explosion, Daniel explained, while Sarah regarded James's tattered shirt with a raised eyebrow. It was worth it, he silently conveyed. Her smile brought back a fleeting glimpse of how she once regarded him, a time before the allure of technology, before the relentless pursuit of achievement, when comprehension had taken the place of disillusionment. Mr. Mitchell, your prompt attention to these documents is necessary. James's attorney scattered documents over the surface of his home office desk. James glanced over the first page. Financial reserves. For your boys. Typical protocol in affluent circumstances. The attorney carefully positioned his spectacles. Separate trusts have been created for each boy, to be accessed at the age of 25. Set it to 21. Considering the sum involved, sir. They are kids who take their responsibilities seriously. James reflected on Michael's meticulous strategy, Thomas's creative insights, and Daniel's subtle intelligence. I have faith in them. Absolutely. Additional papers emerged. The company shares will be divided equally among them. The attorney took a moment of silence. Mr. Mitchell, that accounts for almost 40% of the technological vision. It's great that they're beginning their coding journey early. James signed the documents with unwavering confidence. A throat was cleared from the doorway. Victoria stood there, exuding both elegance and fury. Indeed, she remarked, you are relinquishing your heritage. Victoria, I'm here to bring back a few items. She placed a small box on his desk. I understand there are changes happening within the company structure. Now I understand the reason. The attorney skillfully organized his documents. I will ensure these are processed without delay. Once they found themselves in solitude, Victoria reached for one of the trust documents. Countless assets just like that. They are my kids. They are unfamiliar faces connected by the same genetic thread. She flung the paper aside. The board reached out to me, you see. They seem concerned that you might be experiencing a breakdown of some kind. James chuckled. Is it because I'm embracing fatherhood? Are you tearing down all that you've created? Victoria's calm demeanor shattered. The James the first knew would never, the James you knew was hollow. He rose to his feet. The James you knew gauged his value through stock prices and acquisition deals. What comes next? At present, I gauge it through science projects and soccer matches. Victoria observed him intently for an extended period. You've truly transformed. I trust it will be for the best. She gathered her box of possessions. At the threshold, she paused and glanced back. Those young men, they had better prove their value. James reflected on Michael's instinct to shield others. The bold imagination of Thomas. The inquisitive nature of Daniel. Of lost years he could never reclaim. And future moments he would not let slip away. They are, he stated plainly. They hold immense value. Once she departed, James reached out to Sarah. Is the boy still awake? Attempting to manipulate the academic evaluation system. Inform Thomas that it lacks ethical integrity. Sarah chuckled softly. Convey the message directly to him. Are you still planning to join us for dinner? James gazed at his desk. Enveloped in trust documents and corporate paperwork. Choices regarding wealth, influence, and heritage. Everything was inconsequential. I wouldn't dream of missing it. Daniel, your father has arrived. Sarah shouted up the stairs. The aroma of lasagna filled the house. James has found a new favorite meal ever since he learned that the boys had taken after his hearty appetite. He discovered that he was increasingly drawn to this place as the sun set. Captivated by the vibrant disorder of assignments, gaming, and the interplay of three unique characters inviting him into their realm. Father Thomas raced down first. I resolved that issue in the application. Are you referring to the scheduling one? No, the one that kept faltering when Thomas paused, observing Sarah's expression. The entirely hypothetical application we are absolutely not creating for amusement. Sarah shook her head, struggling to suppress a grin. At least he approaches the defiance of rules with sincerity. Next, Michael stepped forward, clipboard clutched firmly in his grasp. Could you please sign this, Dad? This is intended for the robotics competition. Is it the one happening next month? James extended his hand toward a pen. Is it happening next week? Michael made the necessary corrections. I mentioned it 3 times. James stood still. What about the board meeting? Silence enveloped the room. Daniel, newly arrived, shared glances with his brothers. It's fine, Michael replied swiftly. Mom is capable of... Absolutely not. James retrieved his phone and swiftly composed a brief message. The meeting can be rearranged. Isn't it significant? Daniel inquired. This holds greater significance. With a dramatic flourish, James signed the form. At what time should I arrive? Michael's expression brightened. 9 o'clock in the morning. We've progressed to the second round. As they sat down for dinner, James observed the effortless flow of interaction between Sarah and the boys. The humor shared among us. The unspoken exchanges. The years of collective memories he had overlooked. You're quite subdued, Sarah noted, assisting him with the dishes afterward. Contemplating the essence of time. Perilous topic. So much has slipped through my fingers. He presented her with a plate. Their initial expressions. Initial strides. You have arrived. Thank you for accepting the invitation, despite any reservations. Sarah chuckled softly. This isn't my best work. Absolutely, it was flawless. James wiped his hands dry. You were fully aware of your actions. I understood you had to witness them, to grasp what had eluded you. Echoes of playful disputes over video game controls drifted from the living room. Now I see, James murmured gently. Sarah's fingers brushed against his arm for a fleeting moment. I understand that you do. The moment lingered, cozy yet intricate. Then came Daniel's voice. Father, let's resolve this matter. Thomas is being unfaithful once more. I am not. Indeed, they are. James and Sarah exchanged a glance filled with understanding. Responsibility beckons, she remarked. James moved toward the turmoil, in the direction of his sons. Moving toward the path he ought to have embraced long ago. It's always preferable to arrive eventually than not at all. James found himself in the doctor's office, his gaze fixed on the MRI results. The words appeared to drift gracefully from the page. Intense. Half a year. Options for treatment are constrained. Mr. Mitchell. Dr. Roberts inclined his body slightly, engaging with the moment. Would you like me to go over the options once more? No. James meticulously folded the papers with precision. I comprehend. He ambled toward his car, lost in thought. 3 months prior, he believed the headaches stemmed from stress. The lightheadedness that comes from pushing oneself too far. The phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. A message from Michael. Defeated Tommy at chess once more. When will you be stopping by? James came to a halt, overwhelmed and unable to continue driving. How do you explain to 3 10-year-old boys that the father they have just begun to know is leaving them? He reached out to Sarah. Is that you, James? Shouldn't you be at... I really need to talk to you, just the 2 of us. There was an unmistakable quality in his voice that seemed to send a warning her way. I'll see you at the coffee shop close to your workplace. 20 minutes later, Sarah glanced at his expression and commanded them both to have strong drinks. How terrible, she inquired softly. He deftly pushed the papers across the table, observed her as she immersed herself in the words, noticed her hand begin to tremble. Half a year? Her voice trembled. Should fortune smile upon me? What are the available treatment options? Could potentially grant me a little extra time. It won't resolve the issue. Sarah covered her eyes with her hands. The boys, I'm aware. James' voice echoed emptily. I have finally come to understand how to embrace my role as their father. And now, just don't. Sarah took hold of his hand. Never even think about throwing in the towel. I refuse to surrender. I'm being pragmatic. He retrieved additional documents. All updates have been completed. The trusts, the shares of the company, custodianship. Cease this immediately. They require attention and care. They require their father. They possess their mother. James tightened his grip on her hand. You have always been sufficient. Sarah began to weep quietly. What is the best way to convey this to them? In unity, James asserted with conviction. It feels as though we ought to have taken all the necessary steps right from the beginning. Once more, his phone vibrated with a notification. Thomas on this occasion. Daniel asserts that quantum entanglement does not resemble triple telepathy. You made a commitment to clarify. James gazed intently at the message, experiencing the heaviness of time, excessive waste, insufficient left. This evening he made his choice. This evening we will share the news with them. Sarah nodded, dabbing at her tears. They possess more strength than we realize. They belong to us. James forced a faint smile. Absolutely, they are. They lingered in silence for a moment more. A pair of guardians confronting a daunting dialogue. Bound together by a deep affection for three boys who were entitled to far more moments with their father than life permitted. James reflected on all the moments that had slipped through his fingers, and all the ones he would never have the chance to witness. Commencements, initial encounters, university. Yet he possessed it now. He possessed today. It must suffice. James positioned himself at his writing desk. Before him lay 3 leather-bound journals, each one a portal to untold stories. The medication caused his hands to tremble. Yet he compelled himself to express his thoughts with clarity. Dear Michael, he started in the initial volume. You are the guardian, the individual who ensures that your siblings consume their greens and complete their assignments. Just as I observed you catch Thomas when he tumbled off that skateboard. He hesitated, battling a wave of lightheadedness. The doctors had informed him he had 4 months left. He planned to make the most of every moment. Within the second journal. Dear Thomas, our thoughts resonate in a similar way, constantly forging ahead, uncovering links that escape the notice of others. Yet you possess something I have never experienced. The bravery to prioritize individuals over achievements. The third proved to be the most challenging. Dear Daniel, your inquisitive nature about the universe brings to mind your mother in such a vivid way. Your relentless curiosity about all things. Pursue a deeper comprehension that transcends the obvious. Every journal brims with unique memories. For Michael, the insights on leadership came to him after the moment had passed. For Thomas, the genuine narratives that shaped his triumphs and setbacks. For Daniel, the scientific principles that shaped his existence were intertwined with the writing sessions. He dedicated every possible moment to them, instructing Michael on chess tactics, working through code issues alongside Thomas, engaging in a conversation about physics with Daniel. Sarah observed from the sidelines, capturing every moment on her phone. She would softly mention it for another time. The boys were aware of his illness. They had handled it more gracefully than anticipated, channeling their collective intellect into exploration, proposing therapies, disputing with medical professionals. We will persist, Michael asserted each day. There is always a way forward, Thomas asserted. Daniel highlighted that statistics can be misleading. James penned his thoughts in the quiet hours, when discomfort lingered and sleep eluded him. Do you recall the day we constructed that volcano? Your inaugural robotics competition. The moment you attempted to breach my phone's security. Every memory is invaluable. Every instant immortalized on the page. He filled the margins with intricate diagrams, developed straightforward applications, drew charted paths to the concealed insights he had unearthed only after the moment had passed. Above all, he inscribed in every book that true success is not defined by money or accolades. It's quantified in instances such as these. The volumes of the journals expanded in depth. His hands became increasingly frail, yet the words flowed incessantly. For his children, for what lies ahead, for all the dialogues that will remain unspoken. Are you prepared for this? With a gentle touch, Sarah assisted James in adjusting his tie. He acknowledged with a slight nod, preserving his energy. 3 months had elapsed since the diagnosis. Today marked the occasion of Michael's second robotics competition. His team had reached the finals. Sarah continued, saying that the boys were already there. Michael feels anxious. He ought not to be. James mustered a smile. He is exceptionally talented. The atmosphere in the school gymnasium crackled with energy. James noticed his sons right away. 3 blonde heads leaned in closely over a robot, focused on making final tweaks. "Father." They hurried over, embracing him gently. They had become increasingly vigilant following his previous hospitalization. "How is our champion faring?" James inquired of Michael. "The servo motor's acting up," Thomas reported, cutting off Michael's chance to respond. "The calculations are flawless," Daniel remarked. James examined the robot closely. "Reveal it to me." They collaborated closely, for minds focused on circuits and code, reminiscent of days gone by. James's hands trembled excessively, yet his mind remained keen. He gestured in that direction. "The link is not secure." Thomas resolved the issue swiftly. The machine stirred into action with a soft hum. 2 minutes until we begin," announced the voice over the loudspeaker. "Mother?" Michael's expression was filled with concern. "Is it possible for Dad to remain until the conclusion?" Sarah cast a fleeting look at James. They were both aware that he ought to be taking a break. James proclaimed that not even wild horses could pull him away. The rivalry was intense. Michael's team progressed through each round with determination. James observed his son navigate life with assurance, face challenges with poise, and acknowledge achievements with modesty. In the concluding round, their robot executed its tasks with impeccable precision. As Michael's team emerged victorious, James let out the loudest cheer, his enthusiasm shining through his frailty. "We accomplished it." Michael dashed toward his parents, clutching the trophy tightly. "Father, we accomplished it." "You've accomplished it." James gently offered a correction. "Each and every one of you." Later at home, James observed his sons reveling in their celebration. Sarah locked eyes with him, grasping the meaning behind his look. Without a hint of hesitation, she murmured her words. "Only one." He observed the boys sharing laughter. "Lacking additional time. You've provided them with all the essentials." James contemplated the journals that awaited him at home. The teachings, the recollections, the affection infused within those pages. Nearly all of it, he murmured. Observing his sons, Michael's leadership, Thomas's innovation, and Daniel's wisdom, James realized that Sarah had been correct. They would be fine. They represented what he left behind. His most significant accomplishment. His flawless composition. Sarah found herself in the well-known backyard, observing 3 15-year-old boys gathered around their laptops. The treehouse that James began constructing is now complete, functioning as their coding headquarters. "Mom, Thomas is calling down. We've discovered yet another." She ascended with caution, bending low to pass beneath the sign that read Mitchell Brothers Tech Lab. Within, 3 matching smiles welcomed her. Michael gestured towards his screen. "Concealed within my father's vintage code." It was yet another Easter egg. One of the many secrets James had hidden within TechVision's code before his passing. Small notes, riddles, and insights for his boys to uncover. Keep in mind, success devoid of family is merely digits on a display, Daniel recited with emphasis. Sarah gently caressed the aged journal resting on her lap. One of the 3 James had departed. The boys continued to delve into them frequently, discovering fresh interpretations as they matured. "He would take great pride in you," she murmured gently. Indeed, he would. Michael had taken on the role of class president and had already secured his acceptance to MIT. Thomas had just clinched his 3rd coding championship. Daniel's paper on quantum physics had garnered the interest of CERN. However, what truly mattered was that they were kind-hearted individuals. Compassionate, encouraging, together. "Hey, Mom." Thomas glanced away from his laptop. "Do you recall the moment Dad first arrived at our home? Regarding that wedding invitation?" In an attempt to inflict pain, Sarah chuckled. "The greatest error he ever committed." Michael smiled broadly. Daniel shut his laptop with a decisive click. "Do you believe he realized, in the end, the extent to which he had transformed our lives?" Sarah recalled James's final days, how he had been determined to be present at every school event, capturing each moment, pouring his thoughts onto paper until his hands could no longer grip a pen. He understood, she remarked, and you transformed his existence as well. The boys resumed their coding, 3 heads huddled together as they always did. From the treehouse window, Sarah gazed out at the garden where James had shown them how to play soccer, the patio where they had crafted that erupting volcano, and the place where he had last embraced them farewell. Their time together was fleeting, yet it felt flawless, precisely as he had envisioned it.